Good morning students. Welcome to our senior interzoology class. In the previous class, we discussed about the structure of the brain. Today, in this class, we can discuss about the structure of the spinal cord. Spinal cord. We know very well that spinal cord is also a part of central nervous system. That means the spinal cord is connected to the brain. It arises from the brain. You see, from the hind part of the brain, the spinal cord arises. So, coming to the regions of the spinal cord, like that of vertebral column, it is also divided into 4 regions. Cervical region, thoracic region, lumbar region, sacral region and coccygeal region. The spinal cord, like that of brain, it is also protected by meninges, which are known as dura mater, arachnoid mater, pia mater. Not only these membranes, it is strongly protected by a vertebral column. That means spinal cord it is located in a cavity that is formed by the vertebral column. That cavity is known as vertebral canal or neural canal. Vertebral column is composed of 33 small bone-like structures known as vertebrae. The arch of each vertebrae united to form a tube-like structure that is called vertebral canal. So, this spinal cord is located in the vertebral canal. Our vertebral column is also known as spine or backbone of the body. It supports the body and also it protects the spinal cord strongly. Then, in adults, this spinal cord extends posteriorly up to the lumbar region in the form of a cylindrical tube-like structure. Inferior to this lumbar region, it takes a conical shape. That means it is extended further into a conical shape-like structure that is known as conus medullaris. That is known as conus medullaris. This conus medullaris further extends posteriorly in the form of a long filament-like structure known as filum terminae. Filum terminae. At certain regions, it is enlarged. Spinal cord is enlarged and means it contains an aggregation of ganglions to form enlargements. At some regions, mainly in the 2 parts, it is enlarged. Those parts are known as cervical enlargement and lumbar enlargement. Here we can see this. By traveling posteriorly, it is enlarged or swells at cervical region. This is known as cervical enlargement. Similarly, in the lumbar region also it is extended to form lumbar enlargement. Lumbar enlargement. And inferior to this lumbar enlargement, conus medullaris is present. Below that, filum terminale is present. This here, in this part, filum terminale, we know that spinal nerves arises from the intervertebral discs foramen. So instead of emerging out through these intervertebral foramina, sacral nerve and some of the sacral nerves and some of the lumbar nerves, they travel parallel to the filum terminale to form a tail-like structure that is known as cauda equina. It looks like horse tail, that's why the name cauda equina. It is named as cauda equina because it looks like a horse tail-like structure. It is completely non-nervous part. Completely a non-nervous part. So this non-nervous part of the filum terminale along with the lumbar nerves and sacral nerves united to form a structure known as cauda equina. See the color print in the diagram I will show you. From medulla oblongata, it is extended posteriorly up to the lumbar enlargement. It is a long cylindrical tube-like structure. Below this, that means inferior to this lumbar enlargement, somewhat it is showing conical shaped structure that is known as conus medullaris. From the conus medullaris, it extends below into a filament-like structure that is known as filum terminale. Then, coming to the anatomy of the spinal cord. Let's draw a diagram showing the anatomy of the spinal cord. The spinal cord is also divided into two equal parts by means of two grooves. It is also divided into two equal parts by means of two grooves. These grooves are known as anterior or ventral, median, fissure. Ventral, median, fissure. This ventral median fissure also called anterior median fissure or groove. Fissure or groove. Dorsally, it is divided into another a small groove-like structure that is known as dorsal sulcus. Dorsal median sulcus. In the middle, it is having a central canal. This central canal is surrounded by a grey matter. This is surrounded by a grey matter. That means grey matter encloses a central canal. Inside the central canal, this is called central canal. Inside the central canal, there is a specialized cells. Those specialized cells are known as ependymal cells. It contains ependymal cells. That means this central canal is lined by Ependymal epithelium, which is secretory in function, and it secretes a special type of fluid that is known as cerebrospinal fluid, which protects the spinal cord. Then, this grey matter, it is towards the periphery. It is surrounded by white matter. It is surrounded by white matter. Then, this white matter, I will show clearly. This grey matter, if we take the TS of cross section of the spinal cord, inside the spinal cord, it is having grey matter which is extended or projected in the form of horns. In the form of horns. This one is dorsal horn. And this is ventral horn. Due to these horns, the surrounding white matter is divided into 4 parts. It is divided into 4 parts due to the projection of the grey matter into the white matter. This white matter is divided into 4 parts. The 2 lateral funiculi. This is also lateral funiculi. And this one is dorsal or anterior funiculus. Funiculus is singular, funiculi means plural. So, here the white matter in the dorsal side, it shows a median furrow which is known as dorsal sulcus. Dorsal median sulcus. With posterior median fissure. It is other way known as posterior median fissure. On the ventral side, it is divided by a groove known as ventral median fissure or groove. It is otherwise known as anterior median fissure. So what is the difference between the sulcus and fissure? Means we know very well that sulcus means it is shallow in depth. Groove means somewhat deeper than the sulcus. So this ventral median fissure is deeper than the sulcus. So coming to the leftover gap, I feel this leftover gaps. From this arises a dorsal root. That means a dorsal root contains a ganglion here, dorsal ganglion here. Similarly, from the ventral root arises, from the ventral side arises a ventral root. Dorsal root and ventral root both are united to form a nerve that is said to be spinal nerve. This is the spinal nerve. In the same way, we have to draw the opposite sides also. Opposite side. dorsal root. Now this arranges a ventral root. It shows a dorsal ganglion. Right. In the central canal is present. It is having ependymal cells. Already I told you it helps for secreting the cerebrospinal fluid. This is the anatomy of the spinal cord. I will show in a color print. See here. At the center, grey matter is present. It is projected in the form of four horns, the ventral horns and dorsal horns. The outer white matter is divided into four parts. That means funiculate. From this dorsal side of the grey matter, from this arranges a dorsal root. Similarly, from the ventral side, arranges a ventral root. These two roots are united to form a spinal nerve which emerges out through the intervertebral foramina. Clearly it shows this is the spinal nerve. This spinal nerve is again divided into two branches. They are known as dorsal ramus. Dorsal ramus. It is the ventral ramus. So, what is the function of the spinal cord? We know very well. For example, this is the skeletal muscle. Here, from this skeletal muscle, the sensory impulses are carried by the sensory nerve. This sensory nerve, it extends through the dorsal root. It enters into the dorsal root. Here the ganglion is present. It forms a synapse with this neuron. From this, it enters into the grey matter. From here, it enters into it carried to the central nervous system. It is carried to the central nervous system. That means sensory nerve travels through the dorsal root and it carries the messages to the central nervous system. Okay. Similarly, here the commands or responses that are produced by the central nervous system enters that are carried to this below part of the spinal cord. From this below part, through the motor neurons, they are carried. They reach the muscle. So muscle receives the commands or responses which are produced at the central nervous system by the motor neuron. That means, what is the function of the spinal cord? It carries the messages to the central nervous system from the effector organs. Similarly, the commands or responses that are produced in the central nervous system are reached to the muscle through the motor neurons. That is the main function of the spinal cord. The one more function is there. The main function we have studied in our 10th class, the reflex actions that are controlled by the spinal cord. What are the reflexes? The reflexes are two types, unconditioned reflexes, conditioned reflexes. So that we have studied in our 10th class. Reflex means the involuntary responses that are produced by the spinal cord independently. They are called reflex actions. For example, suppose if we touch a sharp edged object with our leg, immediately we can withdraw our leg backwards. This is best example for reflex action. Similarly, knee jerk. Similarly, dilation of the pupil. These are the reflex actions, best examples for reflex actions. So, under the control of the spinal cord. Then coming to the spinal nerves. There are 31 pair of spinal nerves are there. They arise from the different parts of the spinal cord like this. Cervical spinal nerves, thoracic spinal nerves, lumbar spinal nerves, sacral spinal nerves. Totally 31 pairs of spinal nerves are there. In the next class, we will discuss about the peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system means it includes the nerves that arises from the spinal cord and also nerves that are arises from the cranial nerves. So, we will meet again.